My interview with Jeremy Paxman, in which I talked about revolution and voting and the fallacy of true democracy, is one of the most viral things I've ever done. Looking back at it now, I can see why it was such an impactful interview. But what have I learned since then? How have I changed since then? How do I handle conflict now, particularly in this online space or within the world of the mainstream media? Is it possible to talk about novel, innovative ideas with establishment thinkers? What can we learn from my interview with Jeremy Paxman looking back at it now?
Is it true you don't even vote?
Yeah, no, I don't vote.
Well, how do you have any authority to talk about politics then?
Well, I don't get my authority from this pre-existing paradigm, which is quite narrow and only serves a few people. I look elsewhere for alternatives that might be of service to humanity. I went in there with a kind of gung-ho attitude from the perspective of a celebrity. I think I'd edited a magazine and I was probably writing a book, if, you know, I'm sure that's what I was doing, promoting a book or something. But I went on there kind of quite open-minded and perhaps not particularly prepared. Now, much of the interview was focused on me saying I didn't think it was worth voting because most political parties aren't worth voting for, don't offer genuine change to ordinary people, and you can have your own opinion about that. What we're using the video for in this instance is to talk about the way that conflict is handled. Now, I'm sort of pleased with how this conversation went, precisely because Jeremy Paxman is a very brilliant debater and interrogator.
Well, no, I'm not having a go at you about that. I'm just asking you why we should take you seriously when you're so unspecific.
You don't have to take... Well, firstly, I don't mind if you take me seriously. I'm here just to draw attention to a few ideas. I just want to have a little bit of a laugh. That is quite good, that, because what that's done is people try and mug you off, stripe you up, trip you over by doing things like, I'm trying to take you seriously. Why should I take you seriously? So they're defining the frame at that point. You've got to be taken seriously. I reject your frame. Many of the conversations and arguments about various forms of diversity, inclusion and equality, I think, are beset with problems from the beginning because they accept a framework established by their hegemonic systems of dominance that they ought be interested in overthrowing. Here, in a microcosm, Jeremy Paxman tries to establish the terms of engagement, and I, through, I guess, dear sweet lady instinct, was able to go, I reject that idea and move forward. That's parrying. I'm saying there are people with alternative ideas that are far better qualified than I am, and far better qualified, more importantly, than the people that are currently doing that job, because they're not attempting to solve these problems. Also, I suppose that what's very helpful in a situation of debate is ensuring that you are serious about what you're saying, that you are sincere. And even though there are some things that I've said in the past that I would no longer stand by, the spirit of what I'm saying, I certainly do stand by. And I can see there that what I'm connected to is a kind of a righteousness, and I still have that in me. The time in the years between doing that interview and reflecting on it now have taught me a whole bunch of things, but my guiding principles, my overall vision of how reality is set up and how it could be, is pretty much the same, a little more elaborate now.
Who would levy these taxes?
I think we do need to, there needs to be a centralised administrative system, but built on...
Yes, there needs to be a government.
Well, we might maybe call it something else. Call them like the admin bods, right, so they don't get
And how would they be chosen?
Jeremy, don't ask me to sit here in an interview with you in a bloody hotel room and devise a global utopian system. I'm merely pointing out that the current...
You're calling for revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I'm calling for change. This, I think, was quite good because Jeremy Paxman, if you don't know about him, was kind of a front foot, aggressive interlocutor, investigator, interrogator. So I feel like by meeting him where he's at, it's kind of an interesting way of not yielding territory. Plus, I think I was kind of clear about what I was saying. You, as a member of the mainstream media, keep the frame around debate, help to facilitate a debate that's framed within very, very narrow lines and prevent discussion of genuine alternatives. Therefore, you are part of the very problem that you're critiquing. Now, subsequently, I've had a few interactions with Jeremy Paxman. I think he's a cool guy and I like him or whatever, and all sorts of people work for the media that I think are terrific. I work for the media, some of my dearest friends work for the media. It's not a condemnation of an individual, it's a criticism of a system and how those systems
tend to produce particular results, and that's what systems are for.
So these little valves, these sort of like little cosy little valves of recycling and Prius and like, you know, turn up somewhere, it stops us reaching the point where we think, oh, this is enough now. Stop voting, stop pretending, wake up, be in reality now. Time to be in reality now. Why vote? We know it's not going to make any difference. We know that already. So, like, you know, I have more impact at West Ham United, cheering them on, and they lost the City unnecessarily Saturday.
Okay, well, now you're being facetious.
Well, facetiousness has as much value as seriousness. I think you're making the mistake of mistaking seriousness.
You're not going to
for
solve
solemnity.
world problems by facetiousness. That's
We're not going to solve them with the current system. At least facetiousness is funny.
sometimes.
Oh, yes, go on, son. There I am, old past me. Future me approves of you because humour is vital. Stay light. Also, I thought, yeah, I was being a bit facetious there. You better come up with a joke pretty quickly. I think the main thing, if the conflicts you find yourself in isn't just like about a car parking space, although in a way that is more important because that's actually happening, rather than any theoretical, discursive, roaming around ideological thing in a hotel room with Jeremy Paxman. I mean, how many of us end up there? Who knows? What I'm saying is that I kept a sort of an eye on the prize, on the main sort of thing that I was trying to describe and define, and plus I was willing to use a variety of different resources. As much of it as anything is about kind of luck, and I realise now, older man that I am, that many of the things that caused that interview to go viral were because I was a mouthpiece to what a lot of people are feeling, and that's something that I recognise now as really important. Stay in tune to the populare, stay in tune with what people are feeling. Subsequent to this, politics blew up, didn't it? Donald Trump, Brexit, loads of things that are related to democracy and the power of voting, and only time will tell how significant those moments were in terms of the actual power dynamics in so much as they affect the lives of you. I'm assuming you're an ordinary person like me. How did your life actually change? What things happened? Now, of course, something like Brexit, if you're a sort of a trader that relies on EU relationships, it will have an impact. If under the auspices of Trump's tutelage there was, I mean, I don't know what actually changed. I know that the discourse sort of radically altered. I know a lot of you really like Donald Trump and a lot of you really hate Donald Trump. Me, what I'm interested in and what I think politics really means is getting power to the people that are affected by the decisions that they're made, that are being made. Make those decisions yourself. Be involved in making those decisions. The systems that we currently have can never facilitate that. So however much you've changed the personnel, think of the various leaders, prime ministers and presidents that have passed along the carousel in the intervening time, how much have things really changed? Some of you will say like a great deal and will point to sort of explosions and pandemics and civil rights movements and stuff that may seem significant, but all of them have happened housed within a certain democratic framework, which I would continue to argue don't really alter your life. And look at me, I'm having the same argument again.
Yeah, sometimes, Jeremy. So listen, so let's approach this optimistically. You've spent your whole career berating and haranguing politicians, and then when, like me, a comedian goes, yeah, they're all worthless, what's the point in engaging with any of them? You sort of have a go at me because I'm not poor anymore.
That's the money shot, as you would call it. Like I've just gone in with, like, that's, like I've named what Jeremy Paxman's situation is. I feel like I had some moment of epiphany in the toilet before I went into that interview where I thought, I'm going to say that thing. I remembered him talking to Michael Howard or sort of some former Home Office minister, and I thought, I'll bring that up. Oh no, that wasn't the moment. The moment was when I talked to his nan. Like I'd seen him do some show where celebrities go and investigate their past, their lineage. You know how you get that? Go back, oh, my great-granddad, he was a fisherman or whatever. I'd seen him in one of those shows talk about a woman in his ancestral line that was a sex worker, I think, and he sort of spoke like it moved him and choked him up talking about it. And I remember thinking, oh, I see something different in him there. I think when involved in a conversation with someone, particularly a debate conversation, to remember the various layers of their humanity. Another important technique I consider is that don't think of it as a fight between two individuals. Think of the idea. Think of yourself as a servant of the idea, and this person as a potential ally in the service of the idea. They might serve the idea by attacking your idea. They might serve the idea by coming round, by being persuaded. But if you and your ego are the dominant forces, and it's hard for it not to be, because when I see myself say something that I think is clever, I still get a little buzz out of it. You know, if your ego is the dominant force, you're limited in how far you can go. And I think this applies to more territories than simple discourse.
Do you see any hope?
Remember that? Yeah, totally. There's going to be a revolution. It's totally going to happen. I think not only I ain't got a flicker of doubt. This is the end. This is time to wake up. I remember I see you in that programme where you look at your ancestors and you saw that when your grandmother had to brass herself or got fucked over by the aristocrats who ran her gaff.
Use a little bit of colloquial language from now and again, a bit of the old vernacular, a bit of the old slang. Remind people that you might not come from the same sort of world that they come from, and that you have a variety of kind of, I think, inferred resources as a result of that language. David Foster Wallace speaks beautifully about standard written English, which he sort of refers to as sort of part of the sort of whiteness psychosis preempting many subsequent movements. And I think by using your own colloquialisms, particularly if you have a vocabulary to hand, it can be powerful to show that you're operating in numerous cultural environments.
You cried because you knew that it was unfair and unjust, and that was what was that a century ago. That's happening to people now. I just come from a woman who's being treated like that. I've just been talking to a woman today who's being treated like that. So if we can engage that feeling, instead of some moment of lachrymose sentimentality trotted out on the TV for people to pore over emotional porn, if we can engage that feeling and change things, why wouldn't we? Why is that naive? Why is that not my right because I'm an actor? I mean, I've taken the right. I don't need the right from you. I don't need the right from anybody. I'm taking it.
Well, there you go. I mean, by the end there, I'm in full flow. And I suppose the reason that video went viral is I captured a mood of a moment and was able to convey it blessedly, articulately in that time. Subsequently, of course, I may have got caught up in individualism, egotism, narcissism, all the things that stalk me and many people who do what I do for a trade. But in that moment, man, I felt like I was awake. And what I think I can relay to you about how to handle conflict, stay focused on what it is you're trying to communicate. Think about the variety of resources you have. Don't play the emotion. Don't get into anger and opposition. Those things don't help you. Try to stay rational, but engage passion. If you want me to talk to you more about this stuff, I'll do it. I'll do a whole course. I'll do a masterclass if you want in handling conflict and the sets of skills that are on display there, vocabulary and awareness of some things, most of them as an autodidact to superficially attain somewhat, but nonetheless that means I can convey them to you just as good or just as bad, however you regard it. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please let me know, because I love doing them. Remember when I went on that Morning Joe coffee show? Remember when I was outside Downing Street? Remember some of the things that happen around the VMAs? It's been a lifetime of absolute madness. If you want to learn more from me, see more from me, get more from me, sign up to my mailing list on russellbrand.com and I'll let you know what stuff I'm up to. My Shakespeare live streaming show, there's a link in the description for that. There are tickets to my live show. Come see me live, check me out. Let's get in the same physical space together, for God's sake. Most importantly though, please subscribe to this channel and my Awakening channel, where I talk about meditative techniques that might help you get in a space mentally where you can enjoy moments of rare, for me, lucidity. Also, subscribe to Luminary, where I have my podcast Under the Skin, where I have a deep conversation every week, and Above the Noise, where I do a guided meditation every week. And Dave Chappelle's on the same platform. It's $2.99 a month, I think, with a year subscription. Not cheap, not free, but bloody good. Hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will read them. And let me know how you think the world's changed since then. Wow, looking back, it's crazy, eh?